Wonderful. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this afternoon's 4+1 Accelerated Pathways information session. We're talking about a number of different pathways here in this session this afternoon, including many of the programs that are associated with physics, chemistry, biomedical engineering, lots of different stuff. So we're going to cover lots of information, and we're excited to have you with us to do that. I'm Dr. Amanda Dye. I am the executive director of Beyond Barnard, and I'm joined by colleagues from Columbia Engineering, as well as our great Barnard faculty, to collectively share some important information with you all. Next slide, please. So, just to begin really briefly and to orient us here, our accelerated 4+1 pathways allow students to combine an undergraduate liberal arts education with a master's degree at Columbia. The pathways with the School of Engineering have been historically really popular and allow students to do things that many other liberal arts colleges can't offer, which is why we're really excited to talk to you about these opportunities. Next slide. We here at Beyond Barnard are here to talk to folks about your interest in these pathways, really from the beginning of your education. These are pathways that some of which have really robust curricular implications, and so it's good to be thinking about what you're interested in and how you might get there. We're available to talk to folks about how a pathway might fit with your academic interests and your longer-term career goals. We help to manage the logistics of application processes, so we can help you understand application requirements and the timeline for applications. And we also provide support, including reviewing things like personal statements and resumes for applications, as well as talking about how you might approach potential recommenders in this process. Faculty advisors, including Barnard's faculty leads for the various pathways, as well as your major advisors, are there to help you think about your academics and how they intersect with these pathways. Our first priority is that you can finish your requirements at Barnard, that you are able to finish that bachelor's degree within the time that you need. And so working with a major advisor first to think about your academic progress, what you need to do over the course of years 4 and 5 in the pathway, and how your major and minor requirements might intersect with the 4+1 are all great things to talk about with an academic advisor. On the Columbia side, administrators, advisors, and faculty are able to help you learn a little bit more about curricula for very particular engineering pathways, as well as the requirements for each concentration. They help to manage questions about application logistics. Applications themselves, which Natasha is going to talk about, are housed in Columbia's application system. So things about like technical issues with applications can be handled with Columbia. And of course, once a person begins a 4+1 pathway, they also have access to advising and support, including career services, to talk about pathways within engineering for students who are participating. Next slide, please. So we're going to go over a few different things here. First, application timeline and process. Then we'll talk about the various pathways that we are gathered here to learn about: chemical engineering, biomedical engineering, civil, electrical, mechanical engineering, and a new option in applied physics, applied math for you all. And then we'll open it up for Q&A. I'm going to hand it over to my colleague Natasha from Columbia Engineering to talk about application timeline.
Thank you so much. Again, my name is Natasha Stanislaus. I am a graduate admissions recruitment officer at Columbia Engineering. I am one of many people there to help answer your questions by email. We also are hosting events to help you learn more about the program and also answer any questions that come up along the way. So, of course, if you haven't already, be sure to make sure you take down our email contact or join our mailing list. We'll also, of course, through this event, be able to share additional information. I myself have worked at Columbia for quite some time. I won't say how many years, but I'm also a first-gen college student and a first-gen grad student in my family. I know what it's like to pursue these processes, just not understand all these different programs and why they even exist, but I'm here to at least help with the Columbia engineering side of things. So on this next slide, you'll see the application timeline. I think the main thing to keep in mind is that this is a pathway program to really encourage students to take advantage of Columbia programs a bit early. So rather than perhaps waiting until your senior year to apply to grad school and not quite know what's next on the horizon, for this program, you actually apply during your junior year. Our application opens every year in September. Sometimes it opens a little earlier than that, but September 1st is a really good guideline to know when to check out our website. You'll be able to submit your application until February 15th of the following year. And then hopefully by May, we'll be able to release decisions. Then in your senior year, you're able to complete additional academic components that are required to kind of pursue your formal Master's of Science degree. And you're also then, of course, working on graduating from Barnard. So I guess the way to think about it is that you're kind of getting one foot in the door your junior year into grad school, so that you know how to plan out your senior year and you kind of even understand what you're doing a year after that. And then in your senior year is when you actually formally submit the completion application so that you're able to pursue the Master's of Science degree. So it is a two-part process. You want to make sure you're taking the time to, of course, attend events like this, but also to speak to a Beyond Barnard advisor, to meet with Barnard faculty, and to make sure that you're completing any necessary pathway prerequisites. And then in your senior year, again, you're actually able to take credits that count towards that master's degree. You're taking up to 12 in addition to your senior year, and you're really making sure that in addition to the completion app, you're showing that you've completed the requirements and that you will be attending. We won't be taking any credits like from the actual undergraduate program per se, but you'd be able to start taking those grad programs, and that's the big part of the benefit of this program, that in addition to the mentorship and the support, and having a bit of your post Barnard timeline figured out, you're also being able to take credits before you're even officially graduating from Barnard. So in terms of the application requirements, we do want to keep it as simple as possible. We have, I will say, even before I joined Columbia Engineering, when I was elsewhere at Columbia University, the former dean of Columbia Engineering really wanted to make sure we were taking advantage of the talented and bright minds that were already on our campus, and how can we build pathways to support them. So making the admissions process, application fee waiver free for you, and making it not quite as laborious where you don't have to submit test scores. You're uploading transcripts, copies of your transcripts. I know this is a little confusing, but we need a copy of the official transcript. We don't need the official transcript. So no need to get it sent over from the registrar and pay any money, but we just want to get a sense of academically, are you at the right GPA requirements? Have you taken the right courses? And then we actually ask for contact details for reference providers. We're not even asking for the full letters from those references. We really want to make sure the application as stress free as possible. And then again, consider that as you're, thinking of your pathways, if you're waiting until your senior year or after senior year to apply to grad school, you're probably submitting multiple grad applications, and the application requirements can be quite robust. So we've really streamlined the process so that you're able to, submit your application in a timely fashion while you're in your junior year. And then if necessary, we will contact the faculty members you mention as your references, but they don't need to submit a full letter from the get-go. And so on this next slide, I'll talk a little bit about the frequently asked questions that come up as part of the application process. A lot of students want to know that if I'm submitting this pathway application in my junior year, is it a guarantee that I'll be admitted for the formal Master of Science program? And so, no, it's essentially a conditional admission, if you want to think of it that way, that you have to follow your advisor's direction. That's why we work so closely with the Beyond Barnard and the academic folks in different academic departments. The GPA requirements is also important. We want to make sure that your GPA shows that you're ready for graduate education. And so that's why we ask to see that 3.5. But if you're following your advisor's direction, if you're taking courses, under the pathway requirements, and if your GPA is kept up, completing that completion application to enroll formally in the Masters of Science program is going to be a brine. It's going to be straightforward. It's going to be a breeze. The next question we often get is about funding. So will you be considered funding for the MS program itself? And I think it's really important to keep in mind that funding for Masters of Science programs or graduate programs in general are very different than the funding for undergraduate programs. When you're looking at undergraduate degrees, at the base level, you're getting funding that's tied to your FAFSA, as well as perhaps your CSS profile, if I'm getting that correctly. As a, especially if you're a US citizen or a permanent resident, there might be government funding available to you, and really addressing as much as possible need-based aid. That doesn't quite look the same for graduate admissions. For graduate admissions, you're self-funding your degree. You're using savings, you're using loans, you might be applying to scholarships and fellowships. I believe Beyond Barnard might even be able to point you in the direction of some graduate fellowships you can pursue for your graduate education. That being said, on the flip side of things is that part of what makes this program, really amazing pathway for Barnard students is that you are saving money. So if you were to attend a grad school at Columbia or elsewhere, you're likely going to have to self-fund that degree. At least if you're attending this pathway program and then completing the completion app, you're chipping away at requirements while you are a Barnard student, while you're likely in Barnard housing, right? And so you're sort of able to ease into graduate school, both academically and financially. And so that's something to, keep in mind in terms of what the process and experience might look like. And of course, sometimes students are, thinking of their parallel paths, as some might say, and they're not sure if grad school's right for them. They're not sure if they'll have their application in time for during their junior year. And the last question is, what other application options are available? What if, 2, 3, 4 years down the line, I'm thinking of going to grad school and I'm thinking of grad school at Columbia? The main thing is that we do have this pathway program so that you're able to pursue your master's as kind of a link to your undergraduate experience at Barnard, but we do have the MS Express application, and it's a similar application process for alumni of Barnard, Columbia College, and general studies. So the requirements are a little bit different, but at least it's something to keep in mind that if the pathway doesn't quite fit your needs, if the timing doesn't quite make sense, you are able in the future to apply for the Master's of Science program through the Express route, and you have a bit of a shortened application. My advice is still, if you're at least thinking of grad school, to talk to your faculty and advisors about taking courses that might make sense in the future if that was your pathway. The main thing is that you have up until 5 years to pursue that MS Express application. So hopefully this information is helpful. I know I threw a lot at everyone really quickly. And again, we'll have additional opportunities. We'll invite prospective students too to ask admissions any information, but the pathway is really an opportunity to kind of build off of the experience and the support systems you already have at Barnard. So my team is happy to do whatever we can to help. But thank you.
Thanks, Natasha. And I believe now I'm going to hand it over to Professor Austin to talk about chemical engineering.
Hi, welcome everyone. I'm Rachel Nairhood Austin. I'm in the chemistry department at Barnard, and I'm the faculty lead on the chemical engineering 4+1 program, and also with Professor Mukherjee advised the 4+1 in biomedical engineering. We'll talk about chemical engineering first, and this is, I'd say, a distinctive pathway among the choices in that it's actually partnered with a very specific undergraduate major at Barnard. So if you want to flip to the next slide and then click on the link there, this outlines the requirement for this particular pathway. So again, students, you can look this up on your own time. But the idea with the chemical engineering 4+1 pathway is that students will complete a chemistry major at Barnard, and then they'll do the +1 year. And there are some overlaps with the engineering program at Columbia while you're an undergraduate, but most of the coursework that you take in your 5th year will be the master's program. So what we have on this page is the traditional chemistry major, and then side by side, the way in which we've made selective replacements for a course that's normally in the chemistry major with a course that's more appropriate for a student interested in chemical engineering. So the first 2 years are the same, and then there are some judicious choices. Instead of inorganic chemistry, for example, you'll take Introduction to Chemical Engineering. There are also a few additional math and computing requirements beyond what we would typically require for the chemistry major, and those are listed down at the bottom. So I think we normally require some math for chemistry. There's a bit more. There's a programming requirement as well. And as of a week or two ago, in addition to the programming course that's listed there, we've agreed that this class in computer science at Barnard, which has the number BC 1016 and 1017, could count for this Python course, and hopefully that will be updated on the website soon. So I think the couple of things to know as a student is you can't mix and match. So if you decide you're going to do the 4+1 program and do this chemical engineering chemistry major, you can't suddenly say, oh, I want to take advanced synthesis and not the course at Columbia. So you have to, at a minimum, do what's listed for the chemical engineering major. We do have students who then will take an additional course. So inorganic chemistry, for example, is not required for the chemical engineering undergraduate majors, but people pick it up because they think they might be interested in working with materials. So I think this program is quite straightforward. And if you were interested in this, you would just declare a chemistry major, and any chemistry advisor you would have would be able to help you. And you really don't have to make a choice until probably your junior spring in terms of coursework that really commits you down one path or the other. The other thing that I'll just say, picking up on what Natasha said, is one of the real advantages to the program, all of these pathways, is that while you're a student at Barnard, it's easy to walk across the street and start going to seminars and just learning a bit about the field and learning what people are doing in this area. So unlike being in an isolated liberal arts college and just wondering what chemical engineers do, you can sign up for their seminar series. We've had a lot of success placing students in this pathway in research groups that are either at Columbia in the engineering department there, or people that collaborate with them. So you really get a chance to get a feel for the field. So I think on the next slide, there's just a little bit from the chemical engineering department. I don't think there's anyone on the call from them, but just an example of what that fifth year might look like. It is worth noting that the coursework, it will require the full year. You can't squish it all into a single semester because the required courses are in both fall and spring. But if you have completed all of the credits that you need to graduate and you still have room in your curriculum as a Barnard undergraduate, you can begin to take some of these courses. It's not required for this pathway, but you have that option, as Natasha alluded to. And the other thing that I'll just say is that within chemistry, we're always excited about having students in this program in their fifth year service teaching assistants for our Barnard classes. So they make excellent teaching assistants for us for general chemistry or organic chemistry. So that's one additional small way in which together these two schools help to relieve some of the financial burden associated with getting a master's in science. Okay, I think we'll take questions later, so we maybe just go to the biomedical engineering, and I can just take over this too. So again, this is a simple pathway. There are lots of undergraduate majors at Barnard, science majors that can fit into this program, and both Professor Mukherjee and I are happy to talk to you about it. There's not a lot to say, however, because all you'll do in this pathway is you'll do a great job in whatever Barnard major you've picked. And then I think on the next slide, we just list, in addition to whatever you're doing for your Barnard major, you will take these courses, Calc 1, 2, 3, or equivalent, linear algebra, or equivalent, ordinary differential equations, or equivalent, a computer science programming course, 2 semesters of physics, 1 semester of biology, and then this option of taking this quantitative physiology course. It's highly recommended. So again, you're just going to do your regular major, fit these in. In our experience, the more of these that you get done before your application is reviewed by Columbia in your junior spring, the better. And that's not a cruel thing. It's just, I think Columbia Engineering is really interested in accepting students into their master's degree programs who are going to be successful. And so if they're unsure, if based on your record, if you've really demonstrated that they can confidently think that you'll be successful, then in my experience, sometimes they said, okay, why don't you just, reapply after you finish some more of that coursework? So the more of this you get done before you apply, just the easier it is for you to demonstrate to Columbia Engineering that you're going to be successful in their programs. So I think that's all from me. I don't know, Rashmi, if you wanted to add anything.
Not at this moment. I think Rachel, you covered it all. I mean, where I come in, so I'm Professor Rashmi Mukherjee. I'm in the Physics and Astronomy department, and I work with the students who are coming in from physics. So if you're physics, astrophysics, and you're interested in biomedical engineering, I am the faculty contact from the Barnard side of things. So let me just leave it at that, and I think we can talk about it more later, and maybe Professor Olson might have some things to say as well.
Wonderful. And I think we're going to continue with you, Professor Mukherjee, to talk about the civil, electrical, mechanical, all of that.
Okay, great. All right. So I already introduced myself. I teach first year physics, and I also teach the quantum physics. So I see a lot of you students interested in the 4+1 program. So I am the lead. You can see my email here, and feel free to write to me if you have any questions. And I think I mean, I see some names here that I recognize. I have already spoken to some of you. So this is kind of your summary page. It lists the names of the faculty contact on the engineering, the C's, Columbia side of things. Usually I am the first point of contact from Barnard. Once you have kind of decided and we've spoken, and the time is right, I do put you in touch with the faculty at C's in the engineering department. And that generally happens sometime in your sophomore or early junior semester when you start planning the more required courses from the engineering school. And I set up an introduction, and you actually get to talk to faculty advisors in the engineering school. So this is a handy sheet. Just keep that, for your records. And we can go into the next slide. So the next few pages is basically just, all of this information is on our website, as it's just an overview. The first page is just telling you that the engineering school, there are many departments. Right now, with Barnard, Beyond Barnard, we have worked out the pathways for five specific tracks: civil, mechanical, electrical, and applied physics, applied math, as well as biomedical. Okay, that is not to say that if you're interested in some other pathway, you can certainly come talk to me. That isn't coordinated by Beyond Barnard at the moment, but there are other ways to apply. So for the moment, we are going to talk just about these four pathways. Okay. So you can maybe move to the next slide. And the first one we'll talk about is civil engineering. And, I think the best thing to do for you as a student is to go into this physics page. So together with Beyond Barnard and with the C's faculty, we've gone through each one of these four sort of information pages and made sure that the information is correct. We've updated it. So if you click on the, you don't have to click on it now, but you can click on the civil engineering page, and you'll see there's a lot of information about the courses and what you need to take. For civil engineering, it's also interesting that they have several sort of tracks, okay? And you don't have to decide right now what track you're interested in, but you might get interested in a specific pathway or a track, and for that, that might come later after you get more information about the programs. So for example, there is a structural geotechnical engineering track. There is an engineering mechanics track, construction engineering management track, water resources track. So these are all separate sub-tracks, and you can go into this information website, physics.barnard.edu, civil engineering, and it lists all of these. Okay, so I think there's a lot of repetition here, which I've just taken from the Beyond Barnard information, but it's basically the same idea. The main thing for all of these physics pathways is that you complete a physics major at Barnard. And the physics major has its requirements. We have physics, mathematics requirements, engineering, computer science, your research requirement, all of that is completed. And then once you meet all of those prerequisites, there are some details here. You could, as Professor Austin said, start taking some of the engineering classes already while your time here at Barnard, although that is challenging because you have other requirements to complete. And I think that this is still true that you are allowed to transfer a certain number of credits to the engineering program if you are able to meet the prerequisites and complete the major. Okay. So the details here, I'm not going to repeat. It's here for your records. And once again, all of the information is on the web page, which I'm pointing here. Maybe you can see my cursor. So let's go on to the next page, which is electrical engineering. Once again, I would say the starting point is basically the web page here in the physics department, physics, electrical engineering. You will see that we have broken up year by year all of the physics requirements and the engineering classes that you can start to take, okay? And the electrical engineering, once again, you can see the course offerings, the concentrations. There are multiple opportunities also for doing research, academic credit, master's thesis, and so on. So there's the electrical engineering department has all of that information updated on their website. Okay, so number 3, we can move on to the next page, is mechanical engineering. Similar, start with the mechanical engineering page in the physics department. Once again, the basic structure is the same for all of these engineering pathways. You really need to first complete the physics major at Barnard. You need to satisfy all the requirements. You can start to take upper level classes in the engineering department in your senior year, and that part of the conversation happens in collaboration and consultation with the SEAS faculty. Okay, so you, as a student for any one of these pathways, you start out as a physics major. There's no need for a lot of anxiety starting out as a first-year student. So I do see a lot of first-year students who are very anxious about, am I missing out on the 4+1 pathway? And I always tell them, the first step here at Barnard is to start the physics major. So that is the same for everybody. Your first 3 introductory physics courses are a must. You complete that. And then when you finish as a sophomore and you're interested in the pathway, that's when you start talking to me. Okay. And I'll see most of you in the physics classes. And so we can certainly continue that conversation. Shall we go to the next one, which is the applied physics, applied math. And so that actually is a new pathway this year. And some of you may not have heard about it. This is absolutely brand new. We just set it up this fall, and it's really exciting for us that we were able to add this pathway. And one of the reasons we did that is because we were seeing a lot of interest from the Barnard students who wanted to go into do a physics major at Barnard and then do an applied physics SEAS 4+1 program. So we worked with faculty in the SEAS Applied Physics, Applied Math department. And for the moment, we've actually fully worked out an applied physics pathway. And again, just look at this website. You'll see all of the information worked out. There's a bulletin link. Always go to the department website. You get a lot of information about their program. So students interested in the APAM program, we have faculty contact at Columbia. Again, you start with me. We'll work this out. The courses, if you click on this website, you will see that we have, basically, as Professor Austin was showing for chemistry, we've actually fleshed out all of these courses that you need to take. A couple of general things before we move on to the biomedical. For all of these physics pathways, one thing you'll notice is that there's a little bit of information about the computer science, sorry, not computer, but the mathematics classes. So calculus, there's a little bit of confusion about calculus 1 through 4. We generally say that calculus is a cognate course for the physics major, which means that you need it in order to, it's a prerequisite. But how you get to it, we're not going to count that as much. I mean, you may have taken calculus 1, you may start with calculus 2 when you come to Barnard. As long as you are able to meet the prereqs for the physics classes, you don't necessarily have to take 1, 2, 3, 4 calculus. The other thing that we are recommending for the engineering 4+1 pathways is and I don't remember the course number. I believe it's applied physics, applied math, multivariable calculus. Okay. APMA 2000 is the multivariable calculus, which we are recommending as a replacement for calculus 3 and calculus 4. So this comes on the advice of the engineering faculty. Again, you don't have to memorize any of this. It's all written down in each of these pathways. Okay. The other thing I wanted to stress is what Professor Austin just mentioned. As a student, it's to your advantage to, start going to the engineering school, maybe see what they're doing, seminars, colloquia. You can always, these are open. And some of our physics students actually, once they've kind of decided that this is what they want to do, the 4+1 pathway, some of our students have also found summer research internships at the engineering school, and that's a good way to kind of get into what's going on. So definitely look at all of the departmental websites. Each one of these pages has the C's website listed. You can go into the research, the work that they're doing. There's a lot of work that's happening in applied physics, quantum chemistry, quantum mechanics. All of these engineering faculty have very strong research programs, so certainly look those up just to learn about it. And I think that's it, except for the biomedical engineering. The next one, I think.
I don't know that we have another slide.
Yes, we don't have another slide, but there's no need because it's very similar. Okay. Yeah, so I think that's it. And maybe I'll take questions later on.
Actually, I think that brings us to questions. So we've gotten through the formal presentation, which I know is tons of information and many, many resources. We are talking about lots of programs, though. So we're now happy to take questions from attendees. You're welcome to use the hand raise function, or you can pop questions into the chat, and I'll read them out to the group so that we can get them answered. All right, we have a question. For the math and computer science course requirements, may students take these courses PDF, pass, D, fail, if the courses do not count toward their major?
I can't see why that would be a good idea.
It's a reasonable answer, I think. So yeah, I mean, Natasha, do you want to speak to potentially, like, do you know anything about how, transcript review generally happens within the engineering departments?
Yeah, great question. So honestly, like everything else, every department is its own unique and special and different operation. But as the faculty member just lovely pointed out, I mean, we really want in the transcript to get a sense of your academic preparedness. So if it's pass fail, then it doesn't quite give us the understanding of how well you may have done in that classroom. We understand, of course, things happen academically, and that might be a good question to work out with your advisor if you feel like you need to take an incomplete, if you need to redo a course, if, right, life happens. I'm not here to underestimate just how many different things can quite go wrong doing someone's undergraduate education. But if it's a matter of something you can avoid, I would let the GPA really show that you are academically prepared for this program and that they can absolutely trust you alongside graduate students who are pursuing this coursework. I think, did Professor Mukherjee, did you have something to add?
No, actually, you just said it very well, so I'm not going to add anything else. But I actually just want to say that this question came up in one of my sessions with a student, and I did reach out to a CEES faculty, and they pretty much said what you just said and what Professor Austin said. So it's, you're going into this 4+1 program with math and engineering. It's better to not take it as pass, D, fail, but you may have to for whatever reason, in which case you should explain that in your application.
And I'll just add too, for students, I think mathematics really is the language of engineering. It's not kind of an optional add-on thing for any field of engineering that I'm familiar with. So I think you just want to think about the fact that Like if you were going to go move to another country and really work there, you would want to be fluent in that language. You wouldn't want to be trying to do your job and learn Japanese at the same time if your job required that you be speaking in Japanese. So again, none of these things are meant to be punitive or stressful. It's really just making sure that you're ready to succeed at something that's, it is going to be expensive. It's an investment on your part, and you want to come out successful, and then you'll be able to get a great job afterwards. But if you're not successful, none of this is going to really be in your best interest. At least that's my sense.
We have a second question, I believe referring to the biomedical engineering, that the slide lists 2 semesters of calc-based physics are required, but on the website, it says only 1 semester of calc-based physics. Bryn, if you could clarify which website you're looking at, that might help us as well. There could be a typo somewhere, or, but I believe the 2 semesters are required, yes?
Rachel Austin can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that they would accept 1 semester of physics just for the BME, not for any of the other pathways. But we can clarify that.
Actually, I can clarify that. We have
Yes.
changed it to 1 semester because
That's right.
it was consistent with what we were asking outside candidate, people who are applying.
Mm-hmm.
So that's right.
That's
Okay,
correct.
all right.
Yes.
So we will update the slides.
Yes.
Thank you,
I think
Bryn.
the information that we have on the physics BME pathway is correct. We did go through those pages, which lists 1 semester, I believe.
Second semester is more fun, though.
Yeah.
2 semesters is good, but
Yeah.
1 is not.
Electricity, come on. It's exciting. Awesome. And then did we have another hand raised? Or maybe we got their question answered. Other questions are welcome.
Maybe I can ask a question because I get this from my students. So students ask about the 3.5 GPA. And so when you apply, you are applying with a 3.5 GPA, and what happens if the GPA drops? Or I think that is one thing that the engineering school is would like to kind of stress that it is important to go in with a minimum 3.5 GPA application. Is that correct?
There is wiggle room in that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I think it's important to, especially to not have it drop too much
Yes.
because sometimes the classes that one is taking towards the end are the, more challenging. So you want to keep strong. But if someone had a GPA of 3.4, we wouldn't dismiss them. We would still consider the whole application. And, especially if the grade point average has been coming up or, there's some other, so we look at it holistically. So it's, more of a guideline than a hard fast. In BME, I should say.
I'll just also quickly point out that technically the GPA thresholds are a bit different between the Barnard pathway and the MS Express application that I mentioned. So if you find yourself, again, I think as Lisa pointed out, if you're 3.4, I personally would say go for it. I don't think the spirit of the program is to exclude someone on, on mere decimals, but if it's a matter of you're closer to perhaps a 3.2 or 3.0, you definitely want to consider whether or not even getting some work experience or shoring up your GPA and then maybe applying for the MS Express is a better fit in the future. That is for alumni that are no more than 5 years out from their undergraduate experience, and I believe the minimum is currently like a 3.3. And so, if you feel like a 3.5 is too competitive for you, but you're so close, again, you might decide to either just apply for it or to wait and apply for the MS Express instead, even with work experience or internships, for instance, and kind of shore up your application in other ways.
I don't see any additional questions in the chat. Faculty, any other common questions that you receive that might be helpful to discuss briefly before we wrap up?
One thing that didn't seem to be mentioned too much is the advanced standing, you know, and maybe it just didn't come up explicitly, but just that students, you know, should take like anything that they don't need for their Barnard degree that they take can that will go to the BME degree is up to I think it said 12 credits, but I believe officially it's 15 credits, although that would can be then you know, used for advanced standing in the master. So it will save you, you know, quite a chunk of cash. And also for those math classes, there are a couple classes in the engineering school that can be used instead of Calc 3, and also for the linear algebra and differential equations, there's one class that can be used for those two. So if students are, this is again for biomedical engineering. So if any students who's interested in biomedical engineering specifically and wants more details on that can email me.
Thank you. All right, well, I don't see any more questions, so thank you all so much for coming, hearing more about these pathways. Please keep in mind that we're here, so if you need additional support, you are very welcome to reach out to Beyond Barnard as a first step, and then either we'll be able to answer your question or we'll be able to help connect you with someone who can. Thanks very much to our faculty and to Natasha for joining us, and have a great rest of your afternoon. Good luck with finals, everybody. Faculty included.
Thanks
you,
for
everyone.
organizing. Good to see you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you all.